Welcome and settle in. Imagine yourself floating just above a quiet corridor on a generation starship, or perhaps feeling a gentle pull of spin gravity under your feet, the sort of soft, steady weight that feels more like a reassuring hand than a force. The lights are dim and warm. The air is cool and clean. And somewhere far away, a pump hums with an even, unhurried tone. If this calm journey helps you rest, please like and subscribe, and feel free to drift through our Sleepy Science playlist in the description so it can carry you along while your eyes grow heavy. What city cat country are you watching from right now? Now the doors slide closed, slowly, without urgency, the soft seals meeting with a sigh. The day is beginning in the ship's agreed rhythm, though day is a word borrowed from somewhere else. Here, day means a cycle of lighting, a rotation of tasks, the turning of fans, the measured flow in pipes. You find yourself moving through this enclosed world as if you have been here for a long time. Your steps match the calm tempo of the vessel. The gentle rhythm continues. Morning on the ship is not bright. It unfolds like a curtain drawn back by a careful hand. The illumination does not snap on, but rises with a slow patience, a gradient across the living ring. The walls hold shades of pale amber, reflected by brushed surfaces and soft fabrics. Smells are simple and comforting. A trace of warm grain from a nearby bakery module, a hint of clean water, a whisper of leaves from the hydroponic galleries. In the distance, someone cycles a valve, and the sound is subdued, a padded click, like two wooden blocks touching. The ship's logistics begin long before anyone wakes. Pumps and control loops do not sleep. The water cycle is the day's first unheard conversation. Condensation, captured from sleeping compartments, gathers in narrow channels, then slides into pre-warmed pipes. Pale blue lights above the primary membranes glow with a low intensity, a signal for those on duty, not a call. When you pass by, you can hear the slow, sleepy trickle, the membrane sighing in a rhythm that feels almost like a breath. Imagine yourself standing there, palm against the panel, feeling the vibration of water returning to itself, clean and ready for use. The gentle rhythm continues. A closed ecosystem has no outside to lean on. Here, every drop is counted and then set free again. The ship's stewards coax that cycle along, not with drama, but with routine. They check the pre-filters for tea leaves and hair, the small flecks that ride the flow. They replace a worn O-ring even before it complains. On a screen, lines curve and level, dew point rising in the sleep hours, then falling as the lights brighten. Someone notes the trend with a sleepy stylus, and the stylus themselves feels like a ceremony of care. You walk toward a viewport with layered glass that is more shield than window. It shows not emptiness, but a gentle black that has texture like velvet, scattered with pale grains. The ship is not in a hurry to cross that velvet. It moves with a steady confidence that does not need fingertips on the glass. The motion is only a suggestion under your feet, the ring slowly pulsing, or perhaps it is you who move. At the edge of sight, radiator fins gleam with an almost silvery frost, and then, in minutes that feel like hours, the sheen changes as heat leaves, drawn out and away. The gentle rhythm continues. Breakfast here has a sound. It is the sound of lids sliding open and the quiet rush of steam. Bowls, not metal and not ceramic, but a composite that holds warmth, are lifted in pairs. A child yawns with theatrical slowness, then smiles at something that is not urgent at all. A pattern of light drifting across the floor from a louvered lamp. Someone sprinkles powdered cinnamon. Someone else checks the nutrient dosing schedule for the day's greens. You might be one of them, with a small wrist slate that shows rows of numbers, calm and tidy. You nod, even if no one sees, because the numbers sit where they should. Food is, on a ship like this, a choreography. From seeds to leaves to grains, to the patient proteins grown in quiet tanks, the path is set in loops that mirror the loops of air and water. The hydroponic galleries open as the morning lights rise, and the leaves lift, not because they want, but because the cycles of light and dark were decided long ago for their comfort. There is the gentle fog of humidifiers misting the roots, the slow bead and cling of droplets along nylon threads. The smell is living and small, like a greenhouse attached to a gentle memory. Aeration stones sigh. Dissolved oxygen rises. Someone in soft-soled shoes checks the pH, tilts their head at the colour in a tiny vial, and makes a fraction of an adjustment. The gentle rhythm continues. In another room, the seed bank is asleep. It would be easy to pass it without noticing. The cold inside is kept by quiet machines that do their tasks so well there is nothing to say about them at all. In small packets, the potential of seasons is stacked and named. Lettuce, which is eager and polite. Wheat, which tells long stories. Tomatoes, which carry a warm taste of days not spent on a ship. Everything is labelled with a patient hand. You run a finger along a drawer and think about how a packet has a weight that is partly physical and partly promise. The drawer slides back, no rush, no sound beyond the soft whisk. The air has its own orchestra. Fans move with measured grace. In the scrubber rooms, the carbon moves from breath to liquid, to plant and circles again. Zeolite beds sip and release in a steady pattern, warmed and cooled by loops that know the steps by heart. Solid amine cartridges cradle and let go, and somewhere a valve transitions with that padded click again, letting a measured ribbon of the exhaled world drift to the algae chambers. You imagine the algae like a slow audience that never tires, always patient, always hungry for the waste that is not waste at all. Under gentle light, green spirals turn, as thick as cream, as quiet as a held note, and the exchange continues. The gentle rhythm continues. You pass the laundry module, and there is a fragrance that is not synthetic. more like a suggestion of clean cotton. Machines designed for low water usage rotate with a soft persuasion, not to scrub hard, but to coax. The grey water from their work flows to a reservoir with a slight warmth to it, and that warmth is not thrown away either. Heat exchangers take their share and whisper it into another loop. Clothes are hung in a warm, breezy chamber under a soft light that does not bleach. If there were sunshine, this would be that sunshine. But here, it is a careful spectrum that keeps fabric happy and the colours long-lived. A maintenance shift begins while others sip tea. It is not loud. A panel on the floor is opened and hands reach down with a rhythm that tells you this is not their first time. Wires are bundles of colour. Security tapes keep them tidy. And labels are written in a script that is both functional and a little beautiful. A magnet tool clicks lightly against a terminal. A bearing is turned by a half degree. Everything is checked again, not from doubt, but because repetition is the way reliability feels. A replacement part, printed days ago from a spool of high-grade polymer reinforced with tiny glass threads, waits on a cloth so it will not pick up dust. The gentle rhythm continues. Energy on a long journey is a domestic matter. The ship is not a palace, and it is not a survival hut. It is a home that measures. The reactors deep within, or the energy stores drawn from a distant sun long ago, deliver a steady river. On screens, technicians watch the river split into 1,000 streams. Some to the illumination that keeps days gentle, some to the pumps that keep waters guided, some to the habitat spin motors that are so quiet they seem absent until you listen with your hand on the wall. Waste heat is not scalded. It is courted with radiators that unfold like careful fans, presenting their backs to night. You can almost hear the heat slide out along those graceful surfaces, a radiance you do not see but can imagine as a faint glow that would look like comfort if you could. The schedule board is a language of calm. You rest your eyes on a sheet that lists the day's tasks. They are small verbs, not large ones. Inspect, rinse, record, calibrate, replace, stir, wait. These are the words that keep a world alive when the world is an enclosed loop. People sign with their names and a symbol, perhaps a small wave if they love water systems, perhaps a leaf if they work the gardens. When a task is done, there is no celebration beyond a soft beep and a line becoming a gentle grey. The gentle rhythm continues. The composting rooms are almost warm. They hold a smooth, earthy scent that would feel familiar to anyone who has ever handled soil, even though real soil is precious and present in only cautious amounts here. These rooms do not move fast. They never do. They invite patience. Scraps from the day before, peels, hulls, brewed coffee grounds, and the smallest bits left on plates after meals find their continuation here. Air moves slowly through the piles, controlled for moisture and temperature in thin bands. Microbial communities, guided like a slow choir, turn sugars and fibres into the next inputs of life. There are small windows, and sometimes those on duty look in, not to watch for problems, but simply to remember that transformation can be quiet. The ship's insects live in well-kept apartments. They are not thought of as pests. They are partners. In the pollination rooms, tiny bees with calm temperaments drift among blossoms. The hum is mild and soft, lighter than the hum of fans. Pleasantly under that note, flowers shaped by careful breeding open and decorate the day with little flares of gentle colour. Pollination is scheduled like postal service is scheduled, with routes and times. In other compartments, tiny arthropods move slowly through trays, consuming scraps that cannot be easily reused otherwise. Their work adds to soil blends, and when they have done their job, they become part of the protein stream that is treated with respect and care. In describing this, the ship's records use words like cycle, balance, gentle, routine, and they seem right. In the education rooms, the morning lesson is always the same in one way and always new in another. Today, the topic is loops. A teacher draws a slow circle on a display and the children trace it in the air with their fingers. They speak about the nitrogen in their breath that was once in a leaf, then in a piece of bread, then travelling the ducts, then dissolved in a tank that looked green under a light. They do not rush toward conclusions. They pause between each step as if sipping water, letting the idea settle like a soft moat through the air. Imagine yourself seated in this room, hearing the mild murmur of voices, feeling the steady comfort of the ship's spin, and the teacher shows a diagram of water moving through phases like a quiet dance. The gentle rhythm continues. In control, a small team watches screens that do not blink much. Many of the lines are flat by design. Stability is their own music. Oxygen, partial pressure, wanders by tiny amounts that their eyes know at a glance. Carbon dioxide trace presses against a ceiling that is never steep. Temperature across the habitat ring has a gradient that could be mapped by stepping barefoot in a lazy circle. The carpet warmer near a sunwood radiator loop and cooler near a shaded section by only a whisper. Their hands are on no levers. They are waiting in a useful way. They write brief notes about trends. The day is so easy in its patterns that they tell each other small stories about a fungus culture that found just the right density last night, or a pump that developed a low murmur and then was made quiet again with one soft shim. The ship's timekeepers do not mark with bells. They adjust light, adjust the suggestion of day. You walk through the agricultural cylinders and notice how, as the day wears on, the colour of illumination becomes warmer. Leaves look content. Stems stand straight. Batches of lettuce will be harvested in an hour. The harvest schedule reads like a poem, its lines aligned and calm. A small trolley hums in a way that could lull anyone to rest. It carries bins that are both light and dense. Hands reach, pick, place, and move on. The way one might turn pages at night in a favorite book. The gentle rhythm continues. Logistics can sound like lists, but here it feels like caretaking. Inventory is not about scarcity, but about suitability. The system knows how many filters are left for the primary membranes, how many micromesh screens for the intake vents, how many grams of chelated iron for nutrient tanks. You glance at a display that shows reserves, and the bar colours are muted and reassuring. There is no need to rush. Even the resupply procedures, which are not resupply in the traditional sense, are tidy. Materials are reshaped, reprinted, reallotted. A piece of a casing that once protected a sensor now becomes a clip for a plant trellis. A valve housing is made from a compound that was once a series of food containers. A certain type of insulation is washed, dried, and placed into new duty where vibration demands a gentle touch. In the dormitories, the hush is pleasant. Some people have late shifts and sleep during parts of the ship's day. The air here is particularly still, as if asking visitors to step lightly. Fabrics are chosen for softness, sound absorption, and easy care. Seating in communal corners is low and curved, hands brushed along the backrests to smooth them. A wall shows a slowly changing image of a forest, not as a sharp picture, but a watercolor of greens and browns and light, abstracted enough to leave room for dreams. Someone pours tea, and the steam rises as if it is a soft ribbon. The gentle rhythm continues. Waste management does not mean what it once meant. In a closed world, there is no away. The black water loops are handled with the same affection as the air loops and the food loops. In one compartment, digestion tanks sit under warm blankets and pipes that snake like vines. Bacteria, whose names are said softly and with respect, transform what arrives. Sensors measure the satisfaction of those bacteria. An invisible happiness written in temperature, pH, dissolved gas content. A gentle stirring mechanism turns at a speed that would not ripple the surface of a spoon. The outputs become inputs, and the circle closes again with a soft knot. Shifts change without ceremony. A door opens. A person with a violet stripe on their sleeve takes a pair of gloves from a drying rack. Another person with a green stripe hangs their gloves and writes 2 lines in a log with tiny, neat letters. No one hurries. The same door closes. The work continues. Routines hold hands with routines, and work passes over like a smooth baton. There is comfort in knowing that every action has a quiet echo, continued by someone else who knows exactly how it should sound. The gentle rhythm continues. The air ducts are a highway of whispers. They carry not just gases, but information. Temperature, humidity, trace compounds, tiny motes that are counted and logged. Filters in fine frames trap particles that the rest of the system prefers not to see. These filters are inspected with a slow care, held up to a lamp's soft edge. Turn not quickly, but patiently. If a filter looks tired, it is retired and reprocessed. Fibers melted and drawn into something new. Even the light dust of life has another purpose waiting, and the cycle feels whole. Imagine yourself walking the outer ring, a path reserved for slower ambulation. Here, a printed guide on the wall shows the ship in cross-section. You run your eyes across the layers, the pressure hull, the micrometeoroid shielding, the insulation laced with slow, steady heat tubes that keep dew where it should be, the habitat areas with their gardens and rooms, the control arrays with their redundancies, a quiet power bus that arcs like a horseshoe around the ring. You stand for a moment and feel grateful for the way the design hides its complexity in kindness. The gentle rhythm continues. On a small balcony overlooking the algae bioreactors, a caretaker swirls a sample jar. The green inside settles as a gradient, and a finger draws a simple curve in a notebook. They describe colour not as green, but as sea foam, or apple rind, or another gentle shade that matches the breeder's chart. A pipette lifts a droplet to a slide. A microscope whispers its low motor as it brings the image into focus. Cells float and tumble like tiny planets in a slow dance. Counts are within range. The caretaker smiles to themselves, closes the notebook with a soft pat, and turns off the lamp to save the bulb for the next watch. Another corridor leads to thermal management. People outside may think of space as cold, but here heat is something to be shepherded. Planes of graphite composite radiators reach like wings. Coolant moves through veins that never get loud. The schedule tells when to pivot them by a degree to smooth out the changing needs of the ship. That pivot is done with motors that whisper, the movement slower than a minute hand. Thermal sensors whisper numbers to a screen, and the lines track not like a heartbeat, but like a long sigh. You place your palm near a pipe and feel a soft warmth, a comfort rather than a warning. The gentle rhythm continues. Lunch arrives the way breakfast did, without fanfare. The galley is busy in the way a library can be busy, many tasks done in quiet. On one station, someone gently turns a protein loaf shaped like a small brick. It is cut later and becomes slices with a firmness that pleases, carrying the taste of herbs grown in little planters near a window screen. On another station, a person folds dough that rested all morning in a warm compartment where yeasts have been happy at their unhurried work. Steam loosens a room's corners and then condenses in a small drain, the loop closing as always. In another corner, the nutritionist reviews the day's macros, not like a mechanic, but like a gardener, making sure that everyone gets the right assortment of building blocks. They speak with the head of the hydroponics team about the coming harvest. They look down a list of trace elements and smile at the line that says selenium is both within range and nicely stable. Their smile is not for an audience. It is a private thanks to a system that is making life gentle. The gentle rhythm continues. After lunch, some people nap. A low nap room holds mats and small, weighted blankets that feel like a kind hand. The lighting dips just a fraction lower. A fan breathes in an even tempo. Someone sits near a lamp, reading the maintenance log as if it were a novel from home. The entries are tiny poems. Filter 12A cleaned. Air valve 7 inspected. No drift. Hydroponics aisle 3. Plant A27 repositioned for light overlap. A cup of tea cools beside them as the lines pass, unhurried. Others visit the learning garden where fruit trees in dwarf form hold small, firm apples. The trees are covered in netting that catches leaves and keeps the space tidy. A child counts the apples and then counts again by touching the net in gentle taps. A caretaker explains how a tree's roots in this environment find support in a supportive grid, how water arrives with precision, how air around the roots is just as important as water, a soft breath that keeps the roots in a pleasant mood. Everyone listens. The gentle rhythm continues. Mid-afternoon is a time for checks. The inspection of the nutrient mixing system is not a dramatic procedure. It involves a float valve that rises and falls in a clear column, a sensor that notices and tells a control loop, a motor that nudges a paddle at a slow pace that would look like idleness if not for the beauty of consistency. A small sample is drawn and tested for nitrate, potassium, and phosphate. The person doing it hums a very quiet melody, their mind moving in the same circle as the paddle, as the ship. Stability is maintained by redundancy. The ship holds twins and cousins of every vital component, sometimes so many that the word twin is not enough. Fans are arranged so that the failure of one is simply a small change in pitch, a note that someone hears and addresses before anyone else notices. There is a comfort in that redundancy, the way a soft blanket has several layers and you feel them all, but you only think of warmth. The gentle rhythm continues. The ship's logistics team holds an afternoon brief. A screen shows a diagram of spare parts and consumables, not flashing, but updating like a tide table. Printed parts are flagged green. Metal components that arise from a small refinery, fed with scrap and tails from previous builds, are flagged blue. Resins are flagged amber, so someone speaks about the projected usage, the rate of crosslinker consumption, the arrival of another batch from the polymerization unit that sits near the materials lab. They speak softly. They finish with a small note about balancing production schedules so that waste heat is captured efficiently. Several heads nod at once. The brief ends and everyone returns to their loops. In the health module, there is a quiet flush of air that smells faintly of eucalyptus. It is diluted and kind. The staff there do their rounds. They check musculoskeletal health in a habitat that rotates, recommending stretches that feel more like a greeting to the body than a requirement. They test for hydration gently, with a little sensor that touches the skin and then blinks. They are guardians of balance as much as the engineers are. Their work is part of the logistics too, because health in a closed world is a resource that everyone tends. The gentle rhythm continues. The day edges toward its second half, and the ship, which is always patient, looks the same as it did in the morning in most ways. The lighting has shifted. making shadows a little longer. You pass a bulkhead where someone has hung a woven cloth in a pattern of waves, blue and grey, framed by a small string of pale lights that feel like the echo of starlight rather than a decoration. A person sits beneath it, mending a tool bag with small exact stitches. There is a feeling in the air that more remains to be done, but none of it presses. The analytics team in environmental control reviews trends across months. Tiny adjustments have been made to light levels to reduce flowering stress in one row of plants that has always been a bit shy. The team smiles at the improvement. 0.5% here, 0.25% there. These are victories without trumpets. They carry a softness that suits the ship. They work with time as if stirring a pot that will be served next season. The gentle rhythm continues. Under the floors, cables are cushioned against vibration. Brackets, each with a part number that is almost a small poem, hold them gently. The brackets are not a source of drama. They are a source of trust. You step on the floor and know that below you is a world of careful arrangements, each made by hands that took their time. The cables carry power and data, and the data flows like sap in a tree. Messages to and from sensors, all the whispers of the ship's body, the way the ship listens to itself. Most of it says the same thing over and over. All is well. All is as it should be. All is within range. It is a lullaby. Across the ring from you, a small group assembles at the recycling module. They arrive with small boxes and containers that have reached their last use in their current form. The module accepts them with a quiet sliding sound. It scans, sorts, and sets them on paths toward grinders that are not aggressive, more like mills. There is a rhythm to the grinders, slow enough that you could synchronize your breathing to it. The smells here are faintly sweet, faintly resinous, faintly metallic, all of them gentle and familiar. Materials are washed, dried, graded, and stored again in patient containers that seem content to wait for the next day's tasks. Dinner does not appear so much as accumulate. A stew that has been simmering on low since midday is ladled into bowls. A salad of leaves and crisp vegetables finds its way from the harvest area, still cool from the mist. A small dish holds preserved fruit that was processed months ago to smooth the peaks of abundance. Bread, of course, is there, sliced and wrapped in a cloth that keeps its warmth. People sit, not in rows, but in arcs and small circles, and share in a tone that never rises above the air's ambient contentment. Conversations drift in pieces about the ship's lessons, about a new pattern in the moss wall of the meditation space, about a radio program from a collection of old recordings played early today in the library. The gentle rhythm continues. As the evening begins, the ship's cleaning routine starts with a tired elegance. Floors are touched by a slow vacuum whose motor is so well tuned that it sounds like ocean foam sliding back down a beach. Air vents get a light brush. The galley counters are wiped with cloths that are washed and processed the same night. Trash bins are more like organizing bins. Their contents are tickets to the next loop. The ship itself seems to lean into the ritual, as if it enjoys the feeling of being tended. After all, the ship is a home. Homes like to be cared for. In the microfabrication lab, 2 people adjust the profile on a printer that works in layers, thin enough to feel like breath. The part is not exciting to anyone else. A small housing for a sensor that measures turbidity in a water line. But here, it is a marvel of suitability. It must fit precisely. It must resist a gentle heat. It must hold a seal, and it must do so for years. They adjust parameters and run a small test, then another, until the piece emerges as if it had always been meant to exist. They hold it, weigh it, nod. The gentle rhythm continues. In the algae chambers, evening means a slight reduction in light, not a full night, but a dimness that mimics nature's opinion. The cultures are dense and in a happy state. A tech makes a small correction with glucose in one tank that needs a nudge, then notes how the oxygen exchange improved. They do not rush to aims. They allow the system to meet them halfway. This is how logistics feel here. The ship is a garden of physical laws, nurtured by human patience. The result is more like music than like a machine. People bathe at night, water flowing over skin with a softness you can almost hear. Showers are designed to feel generous while being careful. The water comes out in delicate fans, and the drains receive it as if the drain were also giving, collecting without complaint, then sending it along. A person steps out, wraps themselves in a towel with a weave that feels like clouds, and the mirror shows a face that seems more at peace. They breathe in, and the ship breathes with them. The gentle rhythm continues. You pass a quiet alcove where a grandparent speaks quietly to a child about the ship's rules that are not rigid but respectful. The rules say that every system deserves attention, that every valve loves to be named, that every plant responds to noticing. It is said less like a command and more like a lullaby. The child nods, then yawns, then listens more. They draw a circle on a tablet and colour it with soft greens and blues. There is a feeling that the journey is not about arrival today or tomorrow, but about always carrying this carefulness forward. Still awake, comment the secret word, nebula. Night on the ship is not dark. It is a gentle twilight that holds the habitat quietly. The lights shift toward warmer tones. The hum of devices nestles into lower registers. In the distance, somewhere out in the system veins, a pump that had been steady all day moves one step toward an energy-saving mode, and its note drops by a small interval like a deep sigh. The gentle rhythm continues. Imagine yourself in the observation room, where the wall is more window than wall. The stars, as always, have no edges here, only the sense of 1,000 tiny threads of light held at an infinite distance. The motion of the ship makes those threads seem stable, like pins in velvet. You sit in a reclining chair. The material is breathable, holds you without insistence, and eases every part of you into the same level of comfort. A soft audio track plays a recording of tree frogs from a planet you have been told about, a planet whose night air is thicker and warmer than this. The frogs' voices are calm and spaced out. Your breath matches them. The gentle rhythm continues. The logs for the day are written. They are not long. They do not need to be. The water reclamation team notes that the condenser is operating in the middle of its curve. The hydroponics lead writes that the basil has reached the desired length and expresses gratitude for the improved airflow after yesterday's duct adjustment. The thermal management log mentions a 10-minute vent pivot to smooth a slight asymmetry caused by an unplanned heat load in the kitchen. The health module logs state that everyone is within norms and that the new exercise stretch was well received. The ship's AI, which is housed not as a single entity, but as a distributed set of processes sprinkled throughout the structure, posts a line saying, "All control loops stable, end of day." The gentle rhythm continues. You return to the corridor where we began, the one with the slow lights and the soft door seals. There is a scent of evening tea. There is the faintest clink of ceramic, or something that likes to think of itself as ceramic, as cups are set down. Someone hums, and the tune is one that has wandered through the years. The bulkhead nearby shows a few notices for the coming days. A workshop on trellis maintenance, a shared quiet hour in the library, a reminder that the moss wall trimming is scheduled for tomorrow and volunteers are welcome. None of it presses. It waits like a friend saving a seat. Down in the storage decks, the air is cooler. A team moves through the aisles that hold spares and materials, notes on magnetized boards, labels that are practical and handwritten. There is pride in neatness here, but it is a soft pride. They check pipette tips, sterile tubing lengths, couplings in bright colors, bolts in small compartments. They walk slowly. They talk in low tones. They adjust a thermostat in the polymer bay, turning it by 2 units. The gentle rhythm continues. The waste heat that has left the ship through the radiators has cooled some surfaces to a delicate temperature. You pass a hand near a window and feel that slight coolness. A layer of insulation keeps it from becoming intrusive. You move on and think of all the energy that spent its brief time here, warming tea, moving air, growing leaves, turning motors, and then left as if stepping into the night with a quiet footfall. There is no drama in this exchange. There is only the balance that allows life. The logistics of sleep are as important as the logistics of air. Sleep schedules are posted and not strictly obeyed because the ship respects the individuality of rest. But the schedules help. They stagger times so that some watch the systems while others drift. The watch list has names and gentle symbols next to them, small icons for roles. The lights in the sleeping compartments drop to a level that feels like dusk. The circulation fans continue with a slower turn. The gentle rhythm continues. Before sleep, someone tends to the fungus cultures in a room kept dim and slightly moist. The cultures provide both flavor and nutrition. Threads weaving slowly through substrate that is itself the outcome of other loops. Their smell is round and quiet. Hands check the humidity. A mist is added, fine as breath. Gauges are noted. Nothing more is required. The door closes with a whisper. A person on night watch steps into the control room. Screens show the same soft lines. They make one small adjustment to a set point in the condenser to anticipate the drop in breath rate as more sleepers enter rest. The difference is small, but they feel satisfaction in it. They pour a cup of tea from a carafe that keeps it warm without a flame. They sit and listen to a recording of rain in an old forest. It becomes part of the room's hush. The ship continues forward. That forward is not rushed. It is given its due, each second like a soft bead sliding along a string. In the core, the structures that handle momentum and spin and stability hum like distant bees. Their hum is dependable, and in the same way, it disappears into comfort. No one needs to hold those structures in their mind all the time. They are tended by people who visit them with lantern-like headlamps that give a circle of warm light. Those people enjoy that quiet. They often smile to themselves while they tighten a bolt by a tiny angle. In the library, a screen displays long texts. The texts cover botany and maintenance and the poetry of the ship's founders. The words are not needed today, not urgently, but they are present like old friends. Someone reads the title of a manual on rotational bearing maintenance and finds the shape of those words soothing. They rest their hand on the spine of the digital catalogue as if to greet it. The library system eats little power. It was designed to exist like a seed in the dark, always ready to germinate when needed. The gentle rhythm continues. The floors are slightly warm now because the ship has found the balance point for this phase of the night, a balance that saves energy. That warmth, specific and planned, keeps the chill away from feet and ankles. You notice and smile, perhaps feeling looked after by the ship, almost as if it were a kind relative. The ship rests when you rest. The ship wakes when you wake. The ship is a companion that does not speak words, but speaks in flows and in cycles and in light. An evening maintenance of the atmospheric monitors proceeds like tea service. Filters are checked, replaced if slow. Optical cells are cleaned with a touch so gentle they seem untouched. Log entries are made in tidy script. No one races to finish. The monitors whisper their thanks as they return to their duty with the satisfaction of being understood. The gentle rhythm continues. In the small arts alcove, threads and fibers become textiles that will serve as sound-damping curtains or as protective wraps for delicate instruments. The act of weaving is itself logistics, turning linear things into surfaces, surfaces into shelter, patterns into function. A person at the loom moves the shuttle left and right, left and right, like a pendulum. The fabric grows. They hum under their breath. The pattern is simple: sky and river and leaf. The ship's 3 favourite colours. Late night snacks are gentle. A slice of apple, a small square of protein with herb crust, a piece of flatbread with a smear of cultured spread. It is offered quiet and uncomplicated in warm-toned light. The plates are washed soon after, not because leaving them would cause trouble, but because ending the day clean is a little ritual of kindness. The water warms someone's hands. The soft sponge makes the same motion over and over, circles within circles. The gentle rhythm continues. The ship's council, if such a term even fits, meets every few days to discuss the long arc of needs. Tonight, there is no meeting. Only notes are left on a shared panel. They speak about moving 3 planters to the southern arc of the ring, adjusting light for the night shift in the materials lab, rotating 2 apprentices through the scrubber maintenance team so they can learn the soft art of matching amine cycles to human lives. These are the decisions that shape comfort. They are decided not by force, but by resting and returning, by the gradual drift of consensus that settles like dust in sunlight. A caretaker of fish in a small aquaponic test unit checks a tank by moonlight, or the equivalent of moonlight, a gentle blue that keeps the fish unbothered. The fish move slow as ideas. Their waste becomes a gift to the plants. The plants return a gift to the water. The caretaker's hands make ripples that settle easily. Notes are taken. The test will run for months before anyone decides to scale it up or let it continue just as it is. A little meditation in glass and water. Night deepens. The stars remain as they were. The ship's hull, layered and prepared, holds the world inside with a steady pressure. Sensors feel along the corridors for leaks and find none. They report with calm voices, voices that are numbers and lights. You feel that you can let go because so many eyes and ears are quietly at their posts. None of them seeks attention. They simply keep their vigil. Somewhere, a garden timer clicks and the irrigation cycles pause. The leaves, out there in their sleep, keep their water inside. Stomata close with a decorum that suits the night. The sound that was a patter becomes a hush. A technician in socks that make no sound crosses the aisle and checks a line. Their footfalls are barely there. The gentle rhythm continues. A family tapes a drawing to a corridor where drawings go before they move to the archive. This one shows the ship as a kind animal, whale-shaped with fins that are radiators. The family stands and looks at it, smiling. Then they drift off, their day softened into night. The drawing will stay as long as the tape holds. Then a new one will take its place. Cooling continues. Heating continues. The slow exchanges continue. Somewhere in the deeper structure, a bracket holds under a tiny change in stress. it holds without remark. Somewhere else, a gasket that has sealed quietly for years seals for another day. The ship is good at this. It lives in the long-term present. The gentle rhythm continues. The night watch writes short poetry in the logs, not to be read formally, but to keep the mind companionable with the systems. A line like, "Condenser bowls are calm," or "North radiator whispers to south," or "Oxygen today like a good loaf." These things make no practical difference, and yet they make all the difference to humans tending loops. They keep the human world pliant and peaceful. At a certain hour, the screens dim by a small percent. This is a standard step, designed and agreed to long ago. The effect is small, but cumulative. It lowers the ship into a deeper rest. The pumps do not stop. The fans do not sleep, but their demands are softened. The savings are written not in coins, but in comfort, in reserves that sit in quiet tanks, ready for some later need that is not here yet. Imagine yourself returning to your cabin. The door opens as if acknowledging you, and the room welcomes you with the smell of clean fabric and a faint hint of lavender from a small diffuser that knows when to whisper. The bed is made with a weight that feels like a hug. The ceiling holds a panel of stars that can be set to a slow drift. You lie down. You feel the spin of the ship, which is to say, you feel your own rest. The gentle rhythm continues. Under your bed, under the floor, and beyond, the ship's systems continue their circulation. In the ducts, air takes on your exhale and hands you back your inhale. In the pipes, water that cooled your tea warms a leaf. In a tank, tiny green cells turn light into something you can taste tomorrow. In the radiators, photons are thrown outward with tender insistence, emptying heat into the night. Every act is local. Every act is shared. Morning will return. Lights will lift their brightness with the same patience. Hands will check gauges. Leaves will reach again. People will walk and speak softly, and tasks will be done in the same cadence. The ship loves sameness, not from boredom, but from respect for what keeps everyone safe. Logistics is another word for care. In this closed world, care is the currency of everything. You breathe out. The ship breathes in. You breathe in. The ship breathes out. A partner of habit and design. This is the world tonight. Pipes that hum like bees taken by sleep. Fans that turn like slow rivers. Radiators that glow with a heat that no eye sees. Lights that dim and return, always at the right time. Plants that rest and drink and give. People that tend and talk softly and rest. The gentle rhythm continues. If your eyes are still open, you can picture the schedule board for tomorrow. The words do not change much, and their constancy is a gift. Inspect, rinse, record, calibrate, replace, stir, wait. These are the words that will shape the day after this one, and the one after that. like an incantation that keeps the ship and the people in a kindly harmony. There are no loud events to anticipate, only the comfort of continuity. On another deck, a printer finishes one more small fitting and cools it under a fan that is a baby version of the ship's larger fans. The fitting waits under a cloth and will be collected in the morning by someone who knows exactly where it is needed. The record of its birth sits in the log, and the log sits in the memory of a console, and the console sits in a panel, and the panel sits in a wall, and a wall sits in a ship that sits in a sea of night, moving as all lives move through their days and their nights. A person on watch makes a final small notation. The thermostats are slightly lower now. The CO2 absorption schedule is set for the night arc. The amine beds will switch at gentle intervals that accommodate a ship full of sleeping lungs. The water recollection plan is at its night phase, gathering the condensation that will become cool morning sips and warm morning wash. It is the right moment to stand and stretch, to be quietly pleased. The gentle rhythm continues. You roll onto your side. You pull the blanket to your shoulder. You think of a leaf on the ship. It might be a lettuce leaf, or a basil leaf, or a leaf from a small apple tree. It does not matter. You think of the thin sheet of light that will settle on it tomorrow, the way the cells inside will open and make food out of light and air, the way the ship has given it everything it needs to be a leaf. You think of those cells as small lamps. You think of yourself as another leaf, in a way, taking in what you need and giving back what the ship can carry without complaint. No alarm sound, no urgent steps cut across the quiet. It is an ordinary night in an ordinary run of ordinary days, which is to say, it is the kind of night that people dream of. The ship holds steady. The stars hold steady. The loops hold steady. The gentle rhythm continues. When morning comes again and your eyes open, the same soft light will greet you, and it will feel both familiar and fresh. You will rise and meet the day with the same ease, perhaps with a mug in hand that is lighter than ceramic, but feels like ceramic, the handle warmed by tea, the aroma curling like a ribbon. You will pass the schedule board and read the same calm verbs. You will walk past a panel and listen for the hum and hear it, that reassurance that the ship's body is content. You will nod. Someone will nod back. The world will be small and sufficient and friendly, a closed system that is open in all the ways that matter. The gentle rhythm continues, and you join it, even now, perhaps already drifting. We will be here with more soft journeys like this. Rest easy, feel safe, and let this calm loop carry you into sleep. If this soothed you, please subscribe and leave a like so we can keep releasing these videos this often. And may your night be as steady and kind as a ship that knows how to take care of everything, all in good time.